Well, this is the second day of mending, and it seems like I'm constantly using the glue gun, really, though I don't use it that often. But I was intending to do some sewing today, and actually my hands are really bad. I have, you might not be able to see very well, but you can just see the trace of the scar there. I have, or I had, carpal tunnel in both of my hands, which is this bit here, and it's a nerve that runs through there up into this middle finger. And the stuff grows over this sort of little tunnel that presses down on the nerve like that, and it makes it tingle all the time. And then over time you lose the use of your fingers if it kind of gets quite severe. And then I also had this condition, so this is different to that, about my thumb. So I lost the use of my hands for about 6 months when I was doing my PhD, which seems a million miles away, but also not really. Towards the end of that month I couldn't really use my hands at all. I couldn't hold a cup of tea. And it's funny because it's still with me. So my mending is something, obviously my hands are as mended as they're going to be. So I've had to put the sewing aside for one night. And actually what I'm going to do tonight is just try and fix my ring, which is something that I've been wearing even though it's broken. It says I love tea, which I do indeed love tea. And it makes me laugh because my students are constantly, whenever they see it, they say, "You've got a ring that says you love tea?" And they're kind of quite disbelieving that such a ring would ever exist or that anyone would be daft enough to wear it. I'm trying to, what's happened is that there's some kind of screw in here that's, in fact it's probably important to say, don't use my methods of mending as any kind of health and safety guide, because it's really pretty much, I can see what I'm going to do. This is like the episode of Casualty waiting to happen. But what I'm trying to do is just scrape off as much as the old glue as possible. I tried sanding it, that didn't work, it's just made a bit of a mess. I think that's really as much as it's going to come off, so you can see that what happens is it just spins round and round, and it's really annoying. So, like a good Blue Peter presenter, I will put the lid back on the knife. And it looked like I was doing something more impressive with my sandpaper than it actually was. My glue gun has been waiting for much longer now because I have experience from yesterday. I've also figured out how to stand it up. It's kind of intriguing to me, these things about, you know, the idea of a stitching time saves 9, but actually how often do we do it? Not really very often at all. And things slowly fall apart, and this is one of those objects that I think, again, were it not for this project, I probably wouldn't have done anything about, but actually it's enabled me to stop for a moment and think about, no, this is broken, and if I don't kind of deal with it, then it'll probably break. And part of that is a problem for me because of my hand, so it's frustrating to me that I can't do what I was going to do. And I think that's something, I think that's probably one of the things that's interested me about this idea of mending. And actually from the beginning thinking about my hands as themselves needing to be healed, like needing to be mended. Healed makes it sound like there's no agency in that. They, you know, surgeons cut along here, they drew these sharpie lines across it, and then they had a bit of a dig around in both hands at the same time, and it was, I've got, this one you can see a bit more. The video gets a bit weird, but this is actually my right hand and my left hand, and that scar, something called I think it's called ketosis, I'm not sure, no, that sounds like the thing that happens when you eat a high fat diet. It's a word like that, but what it means is that the tissue grows too much scar. And I think that's when you see people with facial injuries with plastic over them, that's to stop this from happening, because the tissue goes a bit crazy and reproduces. So actually it shouldn't be wide like that. Something I'm kind of intrigued by is the thought of having tattoos of my scars, which is strange. And I've not yet managed to find anyone who would do it, because any time I go in somewhere they say, "Oh, so you want someone to take them away? We'll do a nice little flower and we'll put some trees on there." And I say, no, I mean, what I want is a tattoo of the scar, just like in henna, just, well, that kind of a colour, maybe, because I don't want to forget them, really. It was a big period. Right, now, I think, unlike yesterday, this is actually ready because it's racing it. So I'm going to go straight in and put back over that little screw. And I can still feel it moving. Now, this time, it's going to be important not to cock it up, which is entirely what I'm doing, but there we are. We can fix this later. I'm just trying to squidge some glue around the back. And some glue on this side, a bit more glue here. This is not a pretty job. What I probably should have done, look at that. You can't, yeah, you can see how crappy that is. I think I'm probably all set on the glue front. Let me turn this off. I'm kind of terrified of fire, hence the constant fear of the glue gun. Ah, now it's gluing itself. This is not an advertisement for the Bostix handy glue maker, though it is probably my use of it. Again, got all this spaghetti trail. I find my hands very hard. I find it hard to talk about it, and I find it hard to deal with it the more I think about myself as a maker, as a mender, whatever these words are that I'm kind of coming towards. I find it hard because it's I suppose they're not going to be any more mended than this. This is it, really. This is a kind of top level mended that they're going to be. And that kind of sucks because I can't do everything I want to do. So there is my mended. It no longer waggles about. I shouldn't put it on. That was really, this is like the worst BP to presenting ever. When you've just put a hot glue on a piece of metal, don't then try to put it on your skin, because children, it will be super warm. So let's put it there to cool down, and I can go back to my actual cup of tea and another thing. So this time tomorrow.